the stand. Now he runs. He produces a magic trick. He pulls out another one. This is incredible. This is ridiculous. This is 15 out of 10 on the incredible meter. What a player. What an entertainer. Give him the medal. Give him the Delier medal.
Hello, footy fans, and welcome back to the Chip and Chase podcast. We're going to be getting right into our previews today. Going to be combining the Thursday game between the Knights and the Raiders with the Friday games with the Warriors, Sharks, and Storm Panthers, just to make it all a bit longer. You know, if I just did a Thursday game preview, I'm previewing one game, and the same is going to be said about the Saturday and Sunday games. I'm going to combine them in a podcast closer to the date. But yeah, today we're just going to sort of preview these games, go through, see what I like, how I see these games unfolding, and of course throw in some bets at the end of them. So without any further ado, we'll get into that Knights-Raiders game taking place today on the Thursday, 7th of March, 8 p.m. at McDonald Jones Stadium in Newcastle. I'm torn on this one. You know, you'd expect going into this season, Raiders, they've lost a lot. Nobody's really huge on the Raiders, and everyone should be pretty keen on the Knights after what they were managed to achieve last year. But what I saw in the trials was a bit different. Not that trials are the end of the world, or you shouldn't read too much into them as a whole, but I was very much not impressed with this Knights forward pack as opposed to the Raiders forward pack, who we know was arguably the best in the entire league. At least, across their entire top 30, I think they're undoubtedly the best forward pack in the league. Maybe only the Sharks come close in their depth and, just how strong they are across the entire squad. I was really impressed with how the Raiders played in their trials. And I was quite disappointed in how the Knights played. I am still going to pick the Knights. I think it being a home game in Newcastle is just going to get them right up for it. There's no better way to start your season as a Knights, as a squad, than playing in front of that Knights home crowd. They're one of the best in the league. So I'm going to tip them to get away with it, but I think it will be quite close. I do think that, 1-12 from the Knights could be a really good bet if you're into the sort of betting markets, but I think it could be quite close. I think it could be, I'm not quite sure on how the scoring is going to go. It could be quite a high scoring game, or it could be quite of a grind set that the Raiders like to play. Who knows? Round one, it's really difficult to get a read on these clubs. We're going on essentially how they finished last year and just what we've seen from the trials. So it is really hard to sort of know what's going to happen. I think tipping the Knights is just a safer bet. I think just playing in Newcastle, it's really hard for them to lose. They're going to have a packed out crowd there tonight. So I think Knights will get away with it 1-12. In terms of the betting markets, the multi I have placed on this one, I think, as I said, I don't think the Knights will blow them out of the water. I think Raiders with a plus 8.5 line, so to cover the line, is not a bad bet on this one. I also think that over 41.5 match points is a pretty good shout as well. Based on the last time we saw these teams play, granted, very different circumstances, and Raiders with a lot more players out and a lot different players in the squad now. But in that finals game, it was quite a high-scoring affair from both of these clubs. I see it being quite high-scoring again. I know, it's round one. People expect a grind set, but I think Knights are too much of an attacking football team. It's going to be really hard to stop players like Kalen Ponga and Greg Marju and Bradman Best, et cetera, et cetera. And I also think that the Raiders can get a few points just because we don't know what they're going to play like. They're very hard to get a read on because they're such a newer, fresh team. A lot of different players across the entire back line and your key positions. And because of that, it's going to be really hard to sort of set up a good defensive line and know exactly how to defend against this team. So I see it being quite high scoring. So yeah, over the 41.5 total match points, I don't mind that as a bet. And as a try scorer, I wanted Greg Marju, but didn't really present the best value. So I've gone with his his centre inside him, Bradman Best, as an anytime try scorer. So this multi of those three legs comes out to $8.25. So not the most expensive, but it's definitely good value, I think. If you want to power play that, you certainly can. Of course, betting through Sportsbet here, not affiliated in any way, but they're just the agency that I choose to bet with. Remember that we should always be gambling responsibly with this. Don't bet what you can't afford. But yeah, that's sort of the bets I like with this one. It's going to be a really hard game, and I am excited for it. I won't get to watch it live. I'm going to be a busy bee today, unfortunately, but of course I'll finish up work later tonight at around 9, come home and throw on the replay and see how we go. But I'm excited to just get our first taste of these teams this season. Alas, we will move on to the next game. So we're now into the Friday games, starting with the Warriors and the Sharks, Friday 8th of March, 6 p.m. at Go Media Stadium in Auckland. Warriors home game, of course. And simply due to that fact, I am tipping the Warriors to win. Not even simply due to that fact. I do think the Sharks are going to be a really good team this year. I'm not sure if they make top 8, to be honest, because I think it's a really, really stacked comp this year, and they're sort of that team that I'm a little bit dubious on. But I think Warriors, maybe it's my Warriors bias, but how I saw them play last year, how they played in the trials, I think they're the most complete footy team of the early preseason that we've seen. And yeah, sure, throwing a bit of Warriors bias, but I think we definitely make the 8. I think playing in Auckland, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to lose. I said the same sort of thing about the Knights playing in Newcastle. I think if there's two home crowds that you want, it's the Knights and it's the Warriors. So I think they can essentially be an extra man out there on the field and just help the team get over the line in this one over the Sharkies. In terms of a bet, I've got Warriors just flat out head-to-head. It's paying about $1.50 just for that leg. I have Britton Nickera as a anytime try scorer for the Sharkies, and I've got the game going over 35.5 alternative match points. It's going to be a difficult one again. Who really knows how these teams play? Both are really strong attacking teams, but the Warriors, their defense in the trials and their defense last season was incredible, so they could very well be a low-scoring affair. But I think these two teams have too much attack to really limit it too much. So I think I didn't go too over the board. I went for the alternative match points play, and over 35.5 I think is a pretty safe bet. So that multi there comes to $11.50, which isn't bad value at all. If you want to slap some money on that, I don't mind it whatsoever. But yeah, I just think over in New Zealand, Warriors, I don't think they can. They can lose, definitely. The Sharks have a lot in them. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to put the Sharks down or anything. I think they're going to be a fantastic footy side, and they're going to be even better next year when they get Aden Fanua-Blake into the squad. But I think this Warriors team knows that this is a premiership window. They know that this is probably the best team that they've had in a long, long time, and their best chance to win a premiership. And I think they're going to keep that energy and keep that mindset the entire season. And I think we're going to, see a glimpse of that in this first game. They're going to come out, they're going to make a statement in front of their home fans, and they're going to win this game over a really powerful Sharks team, just to, put their authority on the competition out the gates. I think if I had to bet on, a few other try scorers, you can always go safe. Dylan Watene-Zelezniak, Warriors love throwing it to him, and he makes it look easy scoring on that right wing. But if you wanted to go Roger Tuivasa-Sheck in his return to the NRL, I don't mind it. On the other side, I also really like Jesse Ramian as a play. If you follow the Supercoach content, you should all know how high I am on Jesse Ramian this year. He is in my team. I am keen on him. The only thing about these two players in RTS and Jesse Ramian is that they're marking each other in defense. Jesse Ramian, obviously, that right side centre for the Sharks, and RTS is the left side centre for the Warriors, and both are really strong defensive centres. So I own them both in Supercoach, and I'm really big on them this year, but it could be a tough start for both of them when they're marking each other. They might give each other very limited opportunities, but they're also really classy footballers, and I think they'll come up with some sort of plays, whether it's a try, whether it's a try assist, or just, whatever they get up to. I think they'll come up with some really good plays in this one. So I'm really excited to see that matchup. I think it's my matchup of the game, Ramian and Tuivasa-Sheck. Some really just explosive centres, great defense, great footwork, everything about them I really, really like. So that's my matchup of the game for this one. If I had to choose one going back to Knights Raiders, it would probably be maybe just across the entire forward pack. I really like how they match up across the forward pack. You know, I have said that the Knights were a bit disappointing in the trials in terms of the forwards, but if they're going to come out and make a statement, there's no better forward pack to do it against than the Canberra Raiders. But if we look at these matchups, Saifiti and Papali'i, Tarpany and Thompson, the two Kiwis, Hudson Young and Tyson Frizzell, New South Wales second rowers, Dylan Lucas, you know, sort of stamping his authority in that second row position up against Zach Hosking, the new recruit, also looking to make a name for himself in this Raiders team. And then Adam Elliott up against the Pommy Morgan Smithies. I think that entire forward pack, I really like that matchup. The more I look at it, the more I think they're almost like for like in almost every position there. You know, the standout maybe matchup would be Joseph Tarpany compared to Leo Thompson. But I don't think there's actually as much in it as people may think. I think Thompson is such a great footballer, and I think he's going to relish that opportunity to go up against the New Zealand captain, well, the Raiders captain in this one, in Joseph Tarpany. So I think that's going to be really, really cool, that one. If I had to just do a single one-on-one battle, I really like. Let's go. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go maybe Dylan Lucas and Zach Hosking. I don't think... yeah, they should be marking up against each other. Hudson Young's usually the left side. Hosking will be the right side, and Dylan Lucas was left in the trials. We'll have to see if that is the case in this one. But I like that as a little matchup, those two going at it. Probably won't play 80, obviously. Kai Pearce-Paul on the bench for the Knights will probably give Dylan Lucas a spell, you'd presume. And who knows if Zach Hosking is going to play the full game. The Raiders have a stacked bench with Gula, Mariota, and Saulo. But we will have to wait and see. But yeah, that's a matchup I really like in this one. Anyway, back to the Warriors. There's probably not too much more I need to say on that one. I've given my bets. I've given the way I see this playing out. I think it'll be a gritty game, and I think it's going to be really exciting. Definitely the game of the round for me, and that's not just because I get to see my team in action for the first time. I just think these two sides are going to be pressing for premierships, and round one, they have that chance to stamp their authority. So I'm really excited for that game. Alas, we'll move on to the final game of this preview podcast, which of course is the Storm and the Panthers, taking place on the Friday, 8th of March, 8:05 p.m. at Amy Park in Melbourne. I may have been a bit apprehensive in saying that the Warriors-Sharks game could be the game of the round because we have the heavyweights. The Storm haven't lost a round one in about 22, 23 years. Something ridiculous like that. But they verse the reigning premiers. I don't know. I don't know who to call. I really don't. You know, you'd tip Penrith just because they're Penrith, but that Storm record is unbelievable. You can't really... They obviously, they get up from round one. You can say that for sure. They get up from round one. They want to stamp their authority early, and I don't think they're going to want to lose that record. And I think Craig Bellamy is going to have that in their heads, even though they're up against Penrith. This team does not lose round one, and they're going to do their best to keep it this way. However, with Cameron Munster in some doubt, if he is to miss this match, I do think the Panthers win, and I don't think there's really any question about it. If Cameron Munster does play for the Storm, I really don't know. I think it's a toss of the coin job. Panthers sort of not notorious slow starters, but, you know, they always have a lot of players leave each year, you know, suffering from success, and they have to work out their combinations early. They're such a premier football side that it doesn't take them too long, and of course, you know, by the back end of the season, they're still the best team in the comp. But maybe it takes them a little bit of time to gel and get those combinations right. We saw how rusty they were in the World Club Challenge. Does that, you know, is that the same case here with the Storm? Who knows? I think personally, I'm still going to take the Panthers. I think they're just too good of a football side. I think the Storm, you know, we know that they're always going to be that team. They're always going to be so ultra competitive. But they haven't been the Storm of old for me in a year or two. And even just looking across their squad at the moment, there's still a few, you know, question marks across the team that I think, you know, they just can't really afford to have. So I'm going to tip the Panthers in this one, and that'll, you know, it'll be even safer if Munster's ruled out. after I finish recording this podcast. I think, with Munster out of this Storm team, Penrith win, and maybe not win well, but I don't think they'll even look like losing. If they do, fair play to the Storm. In saying that, super close game, super excited for this game. I think the matchup of the round in this one, oh God, you look across their teams and there's just, across the park, it is ridiculous. Jesus. I was thinking maybe saying Nick Meaney and Taylor May, two players in some interesting circumstances, getting their shot in the centres. Taylor May coming back from injury, losing his spot to Sunia Taruva. Now he's a centre. Meanwhile, Nick Meaney with Pappenhausen coming back into the team gets his shot in the centres. I like that matchup because it's two sort of just different circumstances to see how these players, not notable centres, never played them through the juniors, but we get to see how they come up against each other. But I think the matchup is definitely in the halves battle. Cameron Munster and Jerome Hughes versus Jerome Luai and Nathan Cleary. I think you can't go past that. If Munster's in this team, this is still the best halves combo in the entire NRL. Both of these teams are 1 and 2, and I don't think it's close. I think third place, off the top of my head, maybe Parramatta with Mitch Moses and Dill Brown. But these teams, their halves are ridiculous. So I think that is the matchup there. If you wanted the one-on-one matchup, sure, Nick Meaney, Taylor May, just for a bit of something different. But yeah, this halves matchup is really, really exciting. I'm very excited for this game. I think it's going to be a very, very gritty game. I think it's going to be very close scoring. Both teams are going to be definitely emphasising defence early, and they're going to be playing physical and fast and hard, and I'm so excited for it. If we're looking at a bet for this one, I like Storm to cover the line. So Storm with a plus 4.5 line there. I think that's really good. If they are to lose this game, I can't see it being by more than one try. And, if all it takes is one try and miss the conversion and that bet gets up. So I like that as one of the legs for this multi. I've got Eliesa Katoa as an anytime try scorer. Really good value in him, and he always manages to find his way to the line, Katoa. And I've got under 36.5 total match points, which I think is a very safe bet. If I had to bet, I reckon this game could definitely go under bloody 30 points. So under 36.5, I think, is a really, really safe little leg to add to the multi there. And that multi comes to a total of, why can't I see it? There we are. Comes to a total of $15.25. So for every $1 you put on that, you're winning $15.25. So really good value in that. I think it's going to be, maybe I was a bit apprehensive a bit quick to say that the Warriors-Sharks game is the match of the round, because this Storm-Panthers one definitely could be. They're two premier sides in the NRL. But yeah, that sort of wraps us up for the podcast, for the previews for the Thursday and Friday games in the NRL. I will be back tomorrow or the next day, probably Saturday, early Saturday, looking into the Saturday games and the Sunday game. I'll combine that, moving ahead when the rounds are a bit more, back to normal. I'll probably do Sunday previews, Saturday previews, and I'll wrap Thursday, Friday into their own. So I'll look at, 3 previews a week, which is what we've done this week, but we've just done it Vegas, Thursday, Friday, and then the Saturday, Sunday games. But yeah, that one leaves us there. So thank you guys for tuning into this one. Let me know if you do get on any of those bets, and if you get up, thank me later. But if you don't, remember to gamble responsibly. This is your doing. I can only put them out into the world. It's your choice to take them. I'm not responsible for your bets. So make sure if you are doing it, you've got the money there. You're not losing what you can't afford, and just do it for a bit of fun, guys. Gambling should never be anything more than just a bit of fun. So gamble responsibly. Remember, I'm not affiliated with Sportsbet whatsoever. I just choose to bet through them. So thank you guys for tuning into this one, and I will see you guys in the next podcast.